What's up everybody, Sedric fan here for another weekly update. So once again, I'm going to skip the car portion and go straight into the news because there's tons of Geneva Motor Show news to cover this week. And so I'm going to cover all the most important stuff here for us in America, but also for enthusiasts in general. And I will cover some of the Europe only stuff. I'm going to try and make this video shorter than last week's though. But before I get to all the Geneva stuff, two quick little stories I want to mention real quick that are outside of Geneva. The first is there's rumors about a new Toyota MR2. And the reason why is that Evo, the magazine, sat down with the chief engineer of the Subaru BRZ and Toyota 86, and they're talking with him about all the Toyota models of the past, you know, the Supra, the MR2, the Celica, and they're kind of, I guess, inferring that the GT86 and the BRZ now sits in the place of where the Celica used to sit, and of course we know the Supra is coming back here very soon, and so according to this chief engineer, he says that the three brothers would be in production together as soon as possible. So that's kind of what he was hinting at. Now, whether, you know, what actually happens is what he wants to happen. We'll have to wait and see. But it sounds like they want to do another MR2, and this is something that they've been developing an idea around for a while. That would be mid-engine rear-wheel drive, an actual, you know, worthy successor to the previous MR2. So we'll just have to wait and see if anything materializes there. With how long it took the BRZ and FRS to be in development, don't expect this thing this decade. Most likely sometime early in the 2020s maybe, but an exciting rumor nonetheless. And the other thing is the Dodge Demon teaser for this week. Another week, another teaser, and this one is showing off the performance pages screens that you get with the Demon, including like a real-time dyno type screen, which I think is actually measuring real-time performance, but I'm not sure. Anyway, the interesting numbers that this thing spits out at the end of the teaser video are a 0 to 60 time of 3 seconds according to this run that was shown in the video. So 3 seconds 0 to 60, which is a half second faster than the Hellcat already. 0 to 100 time of 6.08 seconds. Again, crazy fast. But then the quarter mile time was kind of strange because it shows an eighth mile time of 6.6 seconds at 125 miles per hour. But then it goes on to say there's a quarter mile time of 10.5 seconds at 129 miles per hour. So everyone's concluding that it must not be a full throttle quarter mile run, because if you only gain 4 additional miles per hour in the additional eighth mile there for the quarter mile time for the trap speed to not be that much higher than the eighth mile trap speed, means that they must have backed off. So if this thing is running a 10.5 second quarter mile when it's not even trying, we're talking low 10 seconds, maybe even into the 9s here. But then the best hint is they also showed on this dyno chart thing horsepower and torque numbers, and both were peaking around 750, but it's kind of interesting. The clock during all of these teasers, the clock was set to 757. So that could be a hint that that's the horsepower we're looking at, 757. Although some people were saying, well, it's got to be more than that. So who knows? Maybe it'll be a little less impressive than everyone's expecting. You know, with not too much more horsepower than a Hellcat. You know, an extra 50 horsepower, still not bad. But you know, who knows? Maybe it'll go higher than that. But we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, so cool to hear all that stuff. And on to the Geneva news. Alright, so the first exciting news for Geneva here is the 2017 Honda Civic Type R in production form, the actual one we're going to be getting. We have a bunch of details on it here as well. We know it's going to be coming to the US in late spring, so I guess it'll be arriving alongside the SI. We will be seeing probably the US version at the New York Auto Show next month, but the US version should look identical to this car because they're both being built in the same factory. It'll probably just have different corner lights that are orange on ours instead of the clear ones you get in Europe. Otherwise, it should basically be the same, I'm guessing. Anyway, all the specs on this is a 2-liter dual overhead cam, direct injected, turbo VTEC inline 4-cylinder engine that makes 306 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. And that peak torque is available between 2,500 and 4,500 RPMs. So pretty torquey motor. The red line, according to the interior shot, looks like it's only going to be about 7,000 RPM, so not quite the screamer of old Type Rs. But, you know, with the turbos and stuff, you don't need to go up that high, and, you know, should make it a very usable thing with a good mid-range punch. Otherwise, it's going to be manual transmission only, even in the States here. In the States, we're going to be getting it only in the Touring trim as well, which means you get the 7-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's basically going to come fully loaded. There's going to be one trim, and that's it. Now, they may do more differentiation later on down the road, but it's pretty, it seems pretty confident that this will be manual only, as long as as they're bringing it here. Another nice thing though about the manual is it does have automatic rev match downshifts, which is good if you're not too good at heel towing. So that's a cool thing. Other little details here: it has dual axis strut setups, similar to the previous Type R, which we obviously don't get here in the States, but all of you overseas were having, and so it's just a refined version of that. Supposedly, it rides on 20-inch wheels with Brembo 4-piston brakes that have 13.8-inch rotors up front, 12-inch rotors in the rear, and of course, like all other cars these days, it has a bunch of driving modes, including Comfort, Sport, and Plus R, and so that of course will sharpen everything up. Now they haven't announced any kind of pricing for the States here. That probably will come next month at the New York Auto Show, but we're guessing it's gonna be probably a mid $30,000 price range, to be competitive with the WRX STI, the Focus RS, and the Golf R and the like. So gonna be right up there with all of those. Maybe a little bit cheaper since it's only front wheel drive, but we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, so very exciting to see this finally coming to the States. My personal favorite car from the Geneva Motor Show that just debuted this past week was the McLaren 720S. And man, this thing, especially once I saw it in white, there's a Carfection video they did. It's like 5 or 6 minutes long. I'll link it below to see this thing. They talk about all the features of the 720S. I am swooning over this thing. It's so beautiful. It actually sounds good for the first time for a McLaren as well. I mean, other McLarens sounded good, but not really good, like not Lamborghini and Ferrari good. This sounds Lamborghini and Ferrari good now. They just knocked it out of the park, I think, with the 720S. Anyway, as far as all the details, as you might have guessed, 720 PS, which translates to about 710 brake horsepower, so not quite the full 720 here when you do the US ratings and whatnot. 568 pound-feet of torque, which is 68 more than the 650S that it's replacing and is now being discontinued. And so it's going to be, a good amount quicker. In addition to that, it's about, I think, 40 pounds lighter than a 650S. So 2,829 pounds dry weight, 3,128 pounds wet, 2.9 seconds 0 to 60 time, 0 to 124 miles per hour. To get from a standstill to 124 miles per hour, 7.8 seconds. That's an improvement over the 8.4 seconds of the previous 650S. 0 to 186 miles per hour, 21.4 seconds. So pretty crazy. Top speed is now raised to 212 miles per hour as well. Quarter mile time is 10.3 seconds. So this will keep right up with that Hellcat, or the Demon, I should say. Other things to note, it just has all these clever air channels that you can see that the doors are actually like dissected. So you have a middle portion there that will feed air. So instead of having huge gaping scoops, you have very clean lines. And I mean, it's not excessive looking or anything. It's just a beautiful, classic, I'll even say, shape to it, and really awesome. It also has eye sockets, they're calling them, where there's actually, that's a vent in addition to having a slim little row of LEDs and stuff there, and it sucks in air through that headlight and pushes it down there into the wheel wells to help with downforce and stuff. And there's just a ton of cool features on this vehicle. Of course, we know from last week it has a 4-liter twin turbo V8 engine is what's producing all that horsepower. And man, I love the design. I love the sound, everything about this thing. This may be my new dream vehicle, especially I already talked about the Ferrari 812 Superfast a couple of weeks ago, and this I think I actually prefer over that, because that design, the more I look at it, the less I like it. It looks more like a Viper than it does a Ferrari. This thing is really beautiful, but still really supercar looking, and just awesome. Anyway, we don't know the price for these just yet, but we know the 650S started at $265,000, so chances are this will probably be a little bit more expensive than that starting before you put options on it. But man, what a heck of a car, and great job, McLaren. Another very impressive supercar that was debuted here at Geneva was the Lamborghini Huracan Performante, which is the one that, as many of you, if you've been following any kind of automotive news, you'll know that it lapped the Nürburgring in a record time, but then people are contesting whether the time is legitimate. So still hasn't been totally cleared up, although Lamborghini swears that they didn't fake the time. But it's pretty impressive, the performance, regardless of what the Nürburgring time is. It has all kinds of active aero that really helps to give it amazing downforce and just the right, I guess downforce needed, for in corners and things like that. And of course, being the Performante version here, it's lost 88 pounds compared to a standard Huracan. It's very impressive, and it just results in really, really good handling. In addition transmission. They massaged the V10 engine from the standard Huracan to now make 640 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque. It also has stiffer springs and anti-roll bars, all that kind of stuff, as you usually see on these types of vehicles. 0 to 62 miles per hour, again, 2.9 seconds. The going rate here for the supercars of Geneva. Top speed is 202 miles per hour, and this one is similarly priced to the 720S McLaren at $274,390 for the starting price. And the first of those vehicles will actually be arriving this summer, so this will be coming out really quick here, and you'll be seeing them at Cars and Coffee Meets soon enough, I'm sure. So pretty cool to see that. Something you will not probably be seeing at very many Cars and Coffees, unless you go to a really awesome one, is the Aston Martin Valkyrie, which is, they actually just finally named their Red Bull hypercar thing that was called the AM00 something, and now it actually, instead of having a serial number, has a name. So we don't know anything more about it yet. What we know from the past is that they're only making 175 of these things, and they're going to be around $3 million a pop. At least that's the rumor. And of course, they're probably already sold out anyway. But the good news, if you're not in the super exclusive hypercar club, is that Car and Driver did an interview with the Aston Martin CEO Andy Palmer, and he says that Valkyrie is the start of a mid-engines dynasty, if you want to call it that, is what he says. He says, the reason we're doing Valkyrie is to create a halo car, but also to create DNA for a mid-engine sports car range. So, not just one mid-engine supercar, but more than one. I mean, usually Aston Martin has been more about the Grand Tours and whatnot, so for them to be saying, we're making mid-engine supercars that are going to be going up against all the best from Ferrari and Lamborghini is very impressive. And if they're going to have the same kind of bones as the Valkyrie, just in a cheaper, maybe slower form, that sounds spectacular. So, very exciting to hear that, and Aston Martin's doing some big things here. We're going to have a very exciting next few years to see how it all unfolds. Some other Aston Martin news real quick is, in addition to the special editions they just recently revealed, they're doing this new AMR line, which is supposed to be like, they're saying that they want to connect their road cars to their race cars, and so this is how they do it. And instead of just having hardcore versions of their models, they want to call them these AMR models, and they're going to do it for every single model in the range of Aston Martin. So every Aston Martin is going to get one of these. They're starting with the Rapide, actually, and then the Vantage as well. So the Rapide is actually street legal, and it's they've just worked over the V12 engine, so now it does 592 horsepower, which is 40 more than before, and now it does 210 mile per hour. It's just a more aggressive look to it as well, stiffer springs, all that kind of stuff to make it racier, all kind of limited edition stuff and special touches here and there. But then the Vantage AMR Pro is what they're calling that one. That's a track only model. So again, I'm not sure why they're making these if they're not even going to all be street legal, because then you might as well just buy the actual track one. Why would you bother with this thing that isn't actually a track model, but you're not allowed to drive it anywhere other than the track? Not really sure there. Anyway, it does 500 horsepower with the massaged, worked over version of the race car's V8 engine. It has an adjustable suspension, center lock wheels. So they're going to be making 210 of the Rapides and only 7 of the Vantages. So very, very limited, of course. But yeah, interesting to see that. Another awesome race car that actually is for the street is Porsche revealed the 2018 911 GT3. Now this is based on the 911, the 991 Mark II chassis, and so this one is just, got some of the similar enhancements to other 911s as far as the exterior goes, and obviously they've tweaked the front and rear bumpers, spoilers, things like that. It's running a 4-liter flat 6 engine that thankfully is still naturally aspirated. It has not gone turbocharged like all the other Mark II 911 models. 500 horsepower from this screaming engine, 339 pound-feet of torque, and a 6-speed manual is available once again. So thankfully they heard everyone's outcries and they've brought back the manual, but the PDK is still standard, so you have to specify the option for the manual if you want it. Hopefully they don't charge you extra for that. But yeah, so otherwise, other interesting facts here: to do 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds, 197 mile per hour top speed with the PDK. If you get the manual, it's 198, so you get an extra mile per hour. Also, the manual transmission is lighter. It's only 3,116 pounds instead of the PDK being 3,153. It does do 0 to 60 a little slower. The manual is only 3.8 seconds versus the 3.2. But I mean, on a racetrack and stuff like that, you're not doing 0 to 60s really, so this isn't for drag racing, so I'm sure many people will be happy to have that manual again. Other things, the chassis has been redesigned and features rear axle steering. It has dynamic engine mounts. It has a carbon fiber rear wing, and then apparently the front bumper is lighter weight, and so that helps, I guess. Also, the steering wheel is from the 918 Spyder, and there's going to be 3 different types of performance seats you can get to best suit whatever you're going to do with your GT3s, and it also has Porsche's communication system and stuff as standard. But anyway, they're going to be at dealers this fall, and they're going to be $144,650 for the starting price. Very, very reasonable, and still a heck of a bargain, I think, for what you get. Next is Mercedes unveiled the Mercedes-AMG GT Concept, which even though it's just called the GT Concept, this is the 4-door one that we were talking about, and it's pretty impressive. So it has the same twin-turbo 4-liter V8 engine as the Coupe, but this has an electric motor combined with it for a hybrid powertrain that does 805 horsepower. It's sent to all 4 wheels here, so it's all-wheel drive, 0 to 60 under 3 seconds, obviously, and yeah, that's all we really know about it. They didn't give any more technical details, but this is a concept vehicle, but it doesn't look super concept-y. Aside from, if you swap out the camera side mirrors and the wheels, you have basically what could be a production vehicle for the most part, and it just looks like a slopey 4-door version of the AMG GT that'll compete really well with stuff like the Porsche Panamera, and so very, very awesome to see that, and hopefully a production version comes out soon too. Audi revealed the new RS5 that we've been seeing spied for a while, and so it gets rid of the V8 engine like I mentioned last week. Sadly, it does the Porsche engineered Biturbo V6 engine. That's the same one as the Panamera, 444 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque from the 2.9 liter twin-turbo V6 here. The 443 pound-feet of torque is 125 more than the V8 version did, so that's really where your largest gain is going to be, and that's what really you're going to feel when you're driving these, and that's what they're really impressing on people. 0 to 60 is 3.9 seconds, and it's a good amount lighter too than the previous RS5, especially thanks to dropping out that V8. It's now 132 pounds lighter than before, so it weighs 3,649 pounds, and that's also partially thanks to a carbon fiber roof that it has too. 8-speed automatic and all-wheel drive are standard, so yeah, it's just a really nice evolution. It's 3 inches longer than the old RS5, and I think it actually looks pretty good as well. Other Audi news is they revealed yet another version of the Q8, this one called the Q8 Sport Concept, and they keep teasing these Q8s. We'll probably be seeing relatively soon. This Sport one is a hybrid, does a 3-liter V6 and also an electric supercharger, and so that helps it to do 476 horsepower total, 516 pound-feet of torque, and it does 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, and looks pretty cool. It's a sportier appearance than the previous Q8, and so yeah, probably teasing at something to come down the road as a production vehicle. Speaking of teasing vehicles as production vehicles, Bentley revealed the EXP 12 Speed 6 E concept, and this is an electric car, the first for Bentley as a concept, and they say that their emphasis within electric cars, they want it to be as capable as a gasoline vehicle, so they want to have the same range as a gasoline vehicle would, be able to traverse the same distances, all that kind of stuff, and just honestly though, it's just a very beautiful concept that's supposed to preview the new Continental GT styling that we're going to be seeing. We've seen those spied already, looking very similar to these concepts, and so very cool to see that. It's just beautiful on the inside there as well, and just a very cool concept. Volkswagen revealed the Arteon, which is their successor to the CC, which is, of course, the coupe 4-door. And this looks a lot like an Audi, but it is a Volkswagen. And you can tell that mostly on the interior, which is straight, normal Volkswagen interior, which is very impressive here for the 2018 and up model years, which is going to have that large 9.2-inch display as an option. It also has the Volkswagen digital cockpit as an option. And so this vehicle is going to be coming to Europe first this year. Now in Europe, this is going to have up to 6 different engines that you can choose from, ranging from 148 horsepower for the lowest engine all the way up to 276 horsepower. Here in the States, if we do actually get it here, it'll probably be offered only with the lower turbo 4 that's 2 liters that makes 188 horsepower, and then we'll probably get that top level one that's the 276 horsepower version that's also the all-wheel drive version. They all come with 7-speed DSG AMG transmissions, and yeah, so I think they're saying it's going to be around 35,000 euros, hopefully roughly around the same here as far as dollars for the States when this arrives, but we're not even sure it's arriving here in the States yet, and when it does, it might not actually be till actually a 2019 model year vehicle, so we might not get it till next year sometime. So might have a little bit of ways to go to wait for that, but still a very beautiful design. Infiniti showed off the Infiniti Q60 Black S concept, which has an F1 Cares style system to boost output. Infiniti says that they wanted to engineer a road-going version of the Cares system for production, although it'll probably not be quite as extreme as the F1 stuff, but they want it to be really close to that and be really extreme. So they say that that Cares system combined with the standard 3-liter twin-turbo V6 from the Red Sport 400 Infiniti Q60 combined produces about 500 horsepower. Now this is still just a concept car. It looks awesome, and I really hope that they make it, but then again, they did show us the Q50 Eau Rouge concept a couple of years ago with the GTR motor, and everyone was foaming at the mouth, and then they never made it. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed that something of this actually appears. But the interesting thing is, just recently we've been hearing rumors about a new Nissan Z, and there being possibly 3 different versions, including a top-of-the-line hybrid model. This could be kind of that same powertrain, just in the Infiniti packaging here, but we could see this stuff wind up in some kind of Nissan as well down the road, but we'll just have to wait and see. Another vehicle that was revealed this week was the 2018 Subaru Crosstrek, or the European version, which they call the XV. We'll be seeing the North American version of this vehicle here at the New York Auto Show next month, but it's going to look basically the same. It has the same 154 horsepower, 2-liter boxer, naturally aspirated motor as the normal 2017 Imprezas, and it does say that eyesight is standard here for the XV. We'll see if it's the same case for us here in the States, but that would be very cool. Another safety-oriented car that was revealed this past week was the Volvo XC60, which is, of course, a smaller version of the XC90, and looks really good too. The same beautiful headlights there, and just a really nice, leaner design, I think, that's a little less chunky than the XC90 as well. And it's going to have the same motors, though, as the XC90 is, available engine options here, from a turbo 2-liter 4-cylinder engine to the turbo and supercharger combo 2-liter engine, which is the T6 one that they call it, and then also the plug-in hybrid T8 as the top-of-the-line model. And that one does 400 horsepower and it'll do 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds if you're performance inclined in your Volvo. They're still all about safety, and you can watch last week's video for all the details on their very high-tech safety systems that they have now, which are a little scary, but have potential as well. But as far as the XC60 goes, here the other things, the interior is the same, really beautiful interior you see in the XC90. Obviously changed a little bit here, but the same great stuff with that iPad-style vertically oriented screen there in the front, and the open pore wood trim, and just makes for a really, really nice interior, and that's production quality stuff. So this isn't just some concept car, so very impressive there. Another vehicle that was revealed this past week was the Lexus LC 500H, which is just like the LC 500H, same exact powertrain with 354 horsepower from that V6 engine plus an electric motor, which helps to give you better fuel economy than the V8 variants. And so yeah, it's just an interesting, I guess, alternative to those that don't want to go for the twin turbo V8 or twin turbo V6 is what the LS has. So it's just a matter of, do you want twin turbos or do you want a hybrid system instead? So yeah, but interesting to see that. Boutique supercar manufacturer Spyker revealed the C8 Preliator, I think is how you say that. I apologize if I butchered that, but it's kind of, I don't know how you're supposed to say that. Anyway, this is the convertible version, the Spyder version. But the big news here is Spyker teamed up with Koenigsegg for the engine. So usually these Spykers ran the old 4.2-liter Audi V8 engine. Now it uses a 500 horsepower, 443 pound-feet of torque, naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 engine. And I think this is basically the same engine that's used in all the Koenigsegg's, just without all the turbos and wizardry stuff. It's just naturally aspirated instead. 500 horsepower still, though, not bad at all. 6-speed manual. These interiors and these things are mind-blowing, by the way. If you've never checked out these Spykers up close, they are beautiful works of art. These Spyders, they're only making 100 copies of these things, and they're, of course, they've always been very, very rare. They use a Lotus suspension, a carbon fiber body, and they said they've also improved the infotainment display to have better connectivity to Spotify and Apple Music, and also has some kind of hand gesture support, which may or may not work very well. But they're going to be launching these summer of 2018, and so very exciting to see those. Another interesting debut that we're not going to be getting here in the States is Tata Motors revealed the Tamo Racemo, which is this tiny little Miata-type size thing. It's a two-door, two-seat coupe, and this Tamo brand, or Tamo, is a sub-brand of Tata Motors, so it's like their youth brand, I suppose. But this little thing is going to be rear-wheel drive, and it's mid-engined. It's really legit. It's about 3 inches shorter than a Miata, actually, but it's also 3 inches wider than a Miata, so that kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to be working with here. It's going to have a turbocharged 1.2 liter 3-cylinder engine, but it makes 187 horsepower, and in something that's smaller than a Miata, could be pretty potent. 155 pound-feet of torque. Should be pretty fun, yet still affordable. 6-speed automated manual transmission with paddle shifting, and they're claiming 0 to 60 in 6 seconds flat. So it kind of looks like a mini supercar with its styling, and it even has butterfly doors and stuff. And they are actually building these. They're only building 250 of them, though, sadly, and they're not coming to the States because Tata Motors obviously don't bring any cars to the States here. But for those of you that are gamers, this vehicle is now available to download in Forza Horizon 3, and you can play with it there. But so pretty cool to see that. Another vehicle that we're not getting, and it's not even road legal, is this Renault Zoe E Sport Concept, which is basically just a electrified hot hatch. It's just a fully electric hot hatch that does 460 horsepower. It does 3.2 seconds 0 to 60. But yeah, this is just a concept. They say they would like to do something like this, and we know that an all EV hot hatch is inevitable. I'm sure the Golf GTI one day will be fully electric and stuff like that. So this kind of, I think, previews that future in a way. But they said if this version was produced, it would be track only, and they are very lightweight at right under 3,100 pounds, and a pretty cool looking little thing, again, for Europe only if it ever does get produced. One really cool debut at the Geneva Motor Show is Emerson Fittipaldi's new supercar. So he just built what he calls his dream car, which is the EF7. And it's a really cool collaboration between him, he's a very famous, awesome racing driver, and he collaborated with this German race car engineering company called HWA, which is apparently founded by one of the AMG founders. So they're working with them. Pininfarina did the styling for this thing, and then Polyphony Digital, which does the Gran Turismo racing games, has helped with this project as well. And so this is going to be one of those cars that you can drive in Gran Turismo, the Vision Gran Turismo series. And so if you race and you get your racing licenses in the game, it'll actually fast track you for a real racing license, which is a pretty cool idea. But anyway, this thing, they are actually building these. This isn't just a video game car. They're building this actual thing. It's going to be a mid-mounted, naturally aspirated, dry sump lubricated 4.8 liter V8 engine that has a 9,000 RPM redline, does 600 horsepower. It has a carbon fiber intensive body. The weight is supposedly below 2,200 pounds, while still being very safe, they say. 6-speed sequential transmission, and 0 to 60 under 3 seconds, of course. And Emerson Fittipaldi himself said that he's doing it to make an enjoyable car on the racetrack. He wants it to be a car that you love driving on the racetrack. It is only race legal, though, so it's a very cool looking thing, especially with the Pininfarina styling. They said they wanted it to look like a shark. That's it. He said that's his favorite animal is a shark, and he wanted it to look like that, and so that's what they kind of did. So very cool to see that. Alpina debuted the B5 Biturbo, which is a worked over BMW 5 Series by Alpina is kind of an in-house tuner with BMW. It uses the 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 engine that does 608 horsepower, 509 pound-feet of torque, and this has xDrive, all-wheel drive. It has BMW's integral active steering, rear axle, 8-speed automatic transmission that also uses the connected shift technology, which has GPS to do anticipatory shifting, so that when it knows you're getting to a spot where you need to downshift, it'll do that for you. It can be available in sedan and wagon, and it does 0 to 62 in 3.5 seconds. One famous Porsche builder, Roof, they just debuted this new 2017 Roof CTR, which, unlike other models, isn't actually based on any Porsche model. They usually have been heavily modified Porsche chassis, but this one is from the ground up, completely built themselves as far as the chassis is concerned. It's got a carbon fiber monocoque. Obviously, it looks very much like an older 911 here, but it's very lightweight, dry weight of 2,640 pounds. It still has a rear engine layout, so it is still very much much like a 911. It still uses a 3.6 liter Porsche flat six engine with twin turbos that does 700 horsepower and 649 pound-feet of torque. It's still rear drive only. It uses a 6-speed manual, and it's just a very cool thing. 0 to 60 is 3.5 seconds, 9 seconds to hit 125 miles per hour, and it has a top speed of 225 miles per hour. Just really an impressive thing. They're only making 30 of these. Of course, they're probably going to be at least $500,000, if not more. But a very cool thing to see. Another cool thing, it's just a concept, is Pininfarina themselves just made a concept that looks like a Maserati front end in a sedan form. And Pininfarina doesn't actually sell cars, they just design them, so I'm not sure what the point of this thing is. They say supposedly it's a hybrid that makes 800 plus horsepower and will do about over 620 miles of range thanks to a micro turbine generator. Again, all concept car stuff. Don't hold your breath for any of this stuff ever hitting the road, but a cool design nonetheless. And finally, the last story from Geneva this week is Volkswagen has made this thing called the Sedric concept, or Sedric. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. All I can think of is Sedric from Home Alone 2, that hotel employee that always gets into trouble and stuff. Anyway, so according to Volkswagen, this thing isn't supposed to have styling because it has a badge that just says Volkswagen Group on it because they would have different versions for all their different brands. So it's very generic, although it does kind of look like an anime character still, I think, very cartoony in a way. Anyway, so they say it's a platform for a new form of individual mobility that will spawn children and grandchildren from the group's various brands that they have. So basically, it's just another autonomous vehicle that it's very clever in the fact that this one has a control interface that they just simply call the button, and you hit it. It's a remote that gives you a notification of when this Sedric will arrive, it's not like a vehicle you own, really. They say that it would pull a Sedric out of a shared pool, and it's kind of like an automated ride-hailing type deal like Uber. And once you get inside of it, it's got a lounge-type atmosphere. It's got plants and, very relaxed like you see in all these autonomous concepts these days. Electric powertrain, of course, so that, there isn't any need for any engines or anything like that. But the interesting thing is they say after after it drops you off at your destination, it can go pick up groceries and do things like that. But again, if it's not your own car, you're like paying an Uber fee essentially to go get groceries for yourself. I'm not really sure. Again, this is all just future guessing as to how we're going to live in the future. Who knows? But you can also control it with your voice through a smartphone. You can talk with it like it's a personal assistant. Anyway, very interesting stuff. But that's it for all the news this week from Geneva, guys. Let me know all your thoughts about all these concept cars and other production vehicles in the comments below. And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.